So this is me, looking grumpy. All right, I'm not normally like that, I'm quite a bubbly person. I work for Defence Medical Welfare Service. We've been running for 75 years, and I was discussing on the table earlier, even when I went for the interview, I didn't even know who they were, all right? But I knew I wanted to work for them after reading the job description and what I do. But I'm a welfare officer, so I look after, and I'm going to say I quite a lot, because I'm going to talk about the two trusts that I work in, which is University Hospitals, Plymouth Trust, Foundation Trust, and I also work in the Royal Devon Exeter Hospital. So I cover the whole of Devon. But then I will talk about we, and I'll talk about we as a whole, as an organisation, or I guess as a charity, and kind of what we do. So as a welfare officer, I look after the armed forces community when they come into hospital. Now that's either through admissions, outpatients, and obviously planned appointments. But so when I talk about the whole armed forces community, we mean serving personnel. We're talking veterans, new veterans who've just left service. We're talking World War II veterans, which I think there are a number of them left. And as you can appreciate, the majority of the patients I look after or I support in a hospital setting will be the aged veterans. We also look after immediate family members of predominantly children and partners, and as you can appreciate, a lot of partners are away serving presently, so we do a lot of family liaison as well. I'm going to share a quick introduction. I think I'm going to have time. I've got a couple of videos here, but I think it really brings to life our organisation, and then there's a few videos about the day in the life of what I do, but we'll see if we have time anyway. But this is us.
DMWS has a
Oh, I knew something would go wrong. Let me go back. Here we go.
DMWS has a rich military history, supporting our armed forces all over the world, working with the medical services in defence and NHS hospitals. DMWS has been providing an independent and impartial medical welfare service for those who serve since 1943, the only organisation providing this throughout the clinical care pathway.
Whilst serving in Germany, my wife Mandy was diagnosed with cancer. When we registered her admittance into hospital, we were offered welfare services. I think the DMWS filled the void in any space that I needed help. They helped in the medical evacuation. I just had to give them a passport. We were allocated a caseworker, Anne Mackenzie. The initial offer was obviously that she would assist us in the hospital. Sadly, I'd lost Mandy, and used to come to the house once, twice a week and talk to the boys, and she had the skill sets to get them understanding of what was going on. They were well looked after. They know they were welcome. We always knew where to go. We would not be where we are today without the DMWS.
The DMWS has expanded its service to include supporting veterans, reservists and their families. The welfare officers provide comprehensive and confidential medical welfare. This service has led to excellent results, including early hospital discharge.
I joined the Army in 1948 and I was 22. I was self-employed, working on night, coming out of the Army, and then in April 2016 I had this stroke. They got me in the ward the next day and then I was in there a month. The charity has helped me a lot. They keep coming every day and checking me. They used to take me to do a shower at the home, so I got a whole lot quicker with the help I had. And then they said, right, you can go and stay at your daughter's while they were doing this bungalow. There was a big waiting list for the bungalow, but I got on priority. The physio people used to come to the daughters every morning. Then they come again at dinner time, and they was doing that every day for about 3 weeks. And the charity also found me a day trip, Southport, different places, and it's cut there. I haven't been for them, I went for them.
Our skills in dealing with high stress or high trauma situations has created an opening and supporting Britain's blue light services.
I've been a police officer for a number of years. I was involved in a road-related incident which culminated in a vehicle catching on fire and a number of young persons being trapped inside the vehicle. I then went on to develop PTSD. Sue is my allocated welfare officer. I totally trust her. They will attend meetings at work, come to medical appointments and be the support for you through your treatment, whether that's physical treatment or mental health related. DMWS have empowered me to be able to make the road to recovery to my frontline role.
Drawing from over 70 years of military welfare experience, the DMWS now pass their knowledge on to others. The business I work in deals with outdoor education for children. We're seeing an increase in the number of mental health challenges that staff are arriving to our business with. This course is delivered by people who really are experts in their fields. They really understand how to deal with frontline service personnel who have all the challenges of mental health issues that automatically come from dealing in high pressure situations. What this course does is it gives you some real tools and techniques that allow you to be able to be a hands-on first aider to deal with people who have mental health issues or challenges. I am delighted to be the royal patron for the DMWS, a charity for the 21st century and one well worth supporting. With your support, we can continue to help others, especially those who put themselves on the front line every day.
So that's our royal patron, Her Royal Highness, the Council of Wessex. This is the project that's funding the South region from the Army Benevolent Fund, which is quite ironic because we support Royal Navy, Army, Royal Marines and RAF, but the Army Benevolent fund the whole thing, which I find amazing. So moving on, well, this is me. This was me here as a soldier, so I'm a veteran. I'm a 10-year Army veteran myself. This is me now over here, a little bit different, a little more grown up. Okay. But when I heard about DMWS or the job description to have a welfare officer based in 2 hospitals in my county, I jumped at the chance. I had a fantastic job at the Prince's Trust supporting young people back into education, employment and training, but I knew the niche community that I'm involved in needed support in a hospital setting during times of need and distress, and I wanted to be that guy to provide that support. So this is what we were kind of set up to try and do, and we approached NHS England at the start of 2018 and identified 9, I believe it's 9 trusts throughout the South region, and you'll see which trusts we're based in a little bit later on. But we're an independent charity providing help and support to the armed forces community, and we really want to save money by reducing hospital length of stay through the engagement and sourcing external support. And we try and tackle the delayed transfer of care, and I think that's one of the main things is when I'm talking to matrons and ward staff, well, how can I make your job a little bit easier? What are some of the pressures I can take away from you? Especially discharge coordinators as well. In the complex discharge team, I work closely with those guys, and we try and reduce some of those what we call sort of bed blocking delayed transfer of care. We work with other organisations to improve home care provisions and reduce readmissions. So moving forward now, I'll talk a little about future towards the end, but at the minute we're trying to work what we call wrapper patients, so patients that are re-attending because they're looked after in the hospital, a lot of social isolation, so we do a lot of homeless veterans as well, who get 3 square meals a day in hospital. It's warm, it's comfy, and they're interacting with people that they're not normally interacting with. So how can we try and reduce that? And I'll talk a little bit about it later on, because I've got some examples of that. We free up clinical staff to concentrate on the core duties by dealing with non-medical issues. And we're not clinical and we're not medical. I think sometimes that can be quite refreshing when we walk onto the wards. They have so many consultants and nurses and matrons who do an absolutely fantastic job. And I didn't realise how good the job was until I embedded myself in the NHS. I think we're so fortunate to have the NHS, the free NHS service. So they do a fantastic job, but because I'm not clinical or medical, it's about the person, and I have the time to get to know that individual, get to know their families, I get to know what their concerns are at home. We reduced the do not attend and the did not attend rates by we accompany them to appointments, outpatient appointments, assisting with coordinated discharge plans and delivering a positive patient experience. This is kind of how our model works. So we have a referral, whether that's a self-referral, so I'll do a lot of ward rounds and I'll pick up referrals myself, or they're referred through clinical teams. We engage with the service user or the patients, We assess their needs, well-being assessments, research solutions. And as you can see, it's just ongoing, continual liaison with the clinical teams, discharge planning, social care, and also the providers we put them in touch with in the community. But where does all this data go? Well, we have to report into our funders, and we now have to, report into. I now sit on the board at the UHP, so down in Plymouth. So I now sit there and I report data now directly into the hospital. We weren't asked to do that, but I think it's so important that our data is matching up with the hospital's data. So we now do that. This guy here, so some examples, I know I'll probably run out of time, but some examples. This guy suffered a stroke, Alex. He's 32 years old. He's a Royal Engineer and he suffered a stroke. He was on exercise, he was a PTI, so he was a physical training instructor on exercise, and the guy suffered a stroke in front of all of his friends and his peers, which is for him, was a highly embarrassing moment. And as a PTI, this guy may potentially never do the job he did before. So there's a lot of emotional stress there, and this guy's developed mental health issues as a result of this, as recovering through physical ill health as well. But he was one of my first patients I looked after, and I just related to Alex just because of the age and what he's done and some of the operational tools this guy's been on. I've been there and I've done similar stuff to him, but I could never have seen myself suffering a stroke and have to deal with that on my own. So Alex was airlifted to Southampton Hospital, but because his family was in Exeter, we were then able to get a transfer up to Exeter, knowing full well that he'll be supported by DMWS and his family will be looked after by DMWS. Some of the things we've done for Alex, so we liaised with his unit and gave them regular updates. This guy's still a soldier, and at the end of the day, he needed regular updates of what's happening with his current unit. His current unit didn't have any contacts in the hospital. They didn't know what was going on with his recovery. So we were that link between hospital, family, and his workplace. We were able to get his mortgage paid off for him because he wasn't working. So we contacted his life insurance company and they paid out and paid off all his mortgage. So all of that practical and emotional support, we took all that pressure off his family. Alex certainly couldn't do it because he had to learn to talk again. So he couldn't do that. He couldn't communicate properly. So we took all that pressure off the family, and we were able, with his consent, we were able to do that and speak to those people, those organisations he couldn't speak to. So cut the long story short, Alex is now based at Stamford Hall, which is the brand new Headley Court up in Loughborough. So he's still a soldier. He may never go back to doing what he was doing before, but this guy's still a soldier in the British Army. That just follows his recovery through, and as you can see on the end photo there, he told his story at a fundraising dinner in front of Her Royal Highness, and as a result of that, we were able to raise some extra funds, just from some of our service users telling their fantastic stories. And I'll continue to stay in touch with Alex now, and I would probably class him as a friend of mine. This guy here, so just the age differences. So Alex is 32. This guy, when I met him, Sydney, was 99 years old. Very, very sad story. It gets better. Sad story. So Sydney was put on an aeroplane. He lived in Portugal with his son, become ill. He couldn't communicate, really, really bad hearing, so he has to use a whiteboard to communicate. His son put him on a plane, and he was sent over to Exeter Airport, Bristol. He was picked up at Bristol Airport. And then he was brought, for some strange reason, brought down to Exeter Hospital. This guy was potentially homeless. He would have gone for out social care, but he'd probably go into social housing. So I heard about Sydney turning up to the hospital, and there was no way this guy was going to be discharged about my involvement. There was only one place that this guy was going to go, and that was to see all of his comrades at the Dunkirk Memorial House in Taunton. So we were able to work with we had the contacts for Royal British Legion, and we were able to work with the discharge planning team and out of social care, and we were able to get into Dunkirk House, which he's currently living now. Well, he celebrated his 100th birthday, and I was there, and what an amazing day that was. I mean, it still looks great now. He's got more hair than I have, and he's a bloody handsome chap, and I think he's an absolute hero. And like I put down there, not all heroes wear capes, and for me, these are the true war heroes, and we should be celebrating their birthday. But he's now with other Dunkirk veterans in a place where I think he deserves to be at. So we were able to, pick up some of that support and work with the discharge plan and put them in somewhere that the discharge team didn't know existed. And very quickly, we offered bereavement support to a wife who was suicidal. She lost her husband, didn't know where to turn to, had massive financial difficulties. And because I sit in the patient services team, it's a bereavement team based in there, I just took the phone off the bereavement ladies and I just picked it up and dealt with it. We were able to get her 6,000 plus in supported funds through a number of organisations, the Merchant Navy Welfare Board, paid for the funeral, and she's now being supported through monthly funding, monthly income. Have we got time?
We are with some 1 minute.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I will move on very briefly. So this just shows some data. As you can see in here, 70%. What's going on here? 70% of veterans. Okay, 5% serving regular, and then you've got veteran families. So like I said at the start, a lot of the people we support are veterans in hospital. Again, just some more data for you to read. Some of the things that we deal with in the hospital and that we help service users with. These are the NHS trusts that we're based in across the South region. We have contracts in Scotland and the Midlands. We've lost funding, but we have a huge footprint across the South region. And that's only one welfare officer based in those hospitals. This is Lieutenant Colonel Dave Thomas at RD&E, who's one of our biggest advocates, and that's just some nice things that he likes to say about us. And then this was just a video about the Armed Forces Covenant and how that works.
You can just drop back to that. That's a lovely picture.
I mean, if that doesn't get around the floors, the next slide. I think it just highlights the fantastic work that we are doing in the NHS Trust across the region. We're hoping that this will be sustainable and we'll get more funding, because if it don't, then it just stops. And then who looks after that community within that hospital setting? Just to highlight some of the things that we're looking after are housing, finances, wellbeing support, mental health, a lot of PTSD support. We work with psych liaison, drug and alcohol teams, discharge teams, just to pick up that community that sometimes can feel a little bit left out. We're able to speak the language, we relate to them, and we can take some of that pressure off the NHS to do that. That's kind of it, really. Thank you very much.